Have you ever found yourself standing at the edge of something great, yet holding back? The future you dream of feels so close, yet unreachable. You tell yourself, I'll start tomorrow. Next week I'll do it. Or when the time is right, I'll make the change. But the truth is, the longer you wait, the further that future gets. What if the key to your transformation isn't some distant plan, but the very action you take today? In this story, we'll explore the chilling truth behind the power of living in the present and the weight that comes with every choice we make. Our protagonist, like so many of us, will discover just how much of their future is shaped by the decisions made now and how waiting for the right moment can be the most dangerous form of procrastination. This is not a story of motivation. It's a revelation about what happens when we don't live fully in the moment. Part 1, the stagnation. Emily had always been a planner. She kept a journal filled with dreams and goals, each page a blueprint for the perfect life she envisioned. Someday, she would travel the world. Someday, she would open her own business. Someday, she would find the perfect love, the perfect home, and the perfect job. The list went on, each item carefully written with a promise to herself. I'll get there when the time is right. But the time was never right. There was always something to do, always something in the way. One day, she told herself it would happen once she saved enough money. The next, it was once she had more experience. The pattern continued, stretching endlessly into the future like a horizon she could never quite reach. One night, after another long day of work at a job she no longer cared for, Emily found herself staring at her journal. The pages were filled with dreams that had yet to come to life. Her heart sank. Each page felt like a reminder of a life she wasn't living, a life she could have. If only she'd taken action. She stood up and walked over to the window, looking out at the city lights flickering in the distance. The life she dreamed of was out there, somewhere, but it wasn't coming to her. It wasn't coming because she wasn't doing anything about it. She had been waiting for a sign, for the perfect moment to act, but it was always just out of reach. Suddenly, a cold breeze swept in through the window, sending a chill down her spine. She shivered and pulled the window shut, but as she did, something caught her eye. A shadow in the alley below. At first, she thought it was just a trick of the light, but as she stared, the shape moved, as though it was watching her. Her heart raced. There was no one else around at this hour, and yet, there it was, lurking in the darkness. Emily quickly backed away from the window, a sense of unease washing over her. Her thoughts spiraled. Could it be a sign? Should she leave now, act before it's too late? But it was just a shadow, wasn't it? Just her imagination running wild. The unease lingered, and as she went to bed that night, she felt the heavy weight of regret pressing against her chest. Had she waited too long to live? Honor Part 2, The Dream. That night, Emily dreamed. It wasn't a typical dream. There were no fantastical landscapes or strange beings. Instead, it was a nightmare of sorts, one of self-reflection. She stood in the middle of a vast empty field with no sign of civilization in sight. The sky above was an oppressive gray, like the world was holding its breath. She tried to walk, but her legs felt like they were stuck in mud. The more she struggled, the deeper she sank. The feeling of being trapped was suffocating. And in the distance, she saw something, a figure moving toward her. It was a version of herself, but it wasn't quite right. This version of Emily was older, tired, her face drawn with lines of regret. As the figure came closer, Emily's heart skipped a beat. This version of her wasn't living the life she had dreamed of. She had waited too long, for the right job, the right time, the right circumstances, and in the end, she was left with nothing but missed opportunities. "What are you doing?" the older version of Emily asked. Her voice was cold, distant, as though she had given up on ever finding happiness. I didn't know how to start," Emily responded, her voice trembling. "I thought I needed to wait for the right moment." The older Emily shook her head slowly. "There is no right moment. You wait, and the world keeps moving. You wait, and life slips through your fingers. You wait, and you lose everything." The words hit Emily like a punch to the gut. She wanted to scream, to beg for another chance, but the words caught in her throat. Instead, she stood there, helpless, as the older version of herself faded into the distance, swallowed by the endless gray. The dream was a warning, a reminder that waiting too long means losing everything. Asrammer Part 3, The Wake-Up Call. Emily woke up with a start, her heart pounding. It was just a dream, but it felt real, too real. As she lay there staring at the ceiling, she couldn't shake the image of the older version of herself. The fear, the regret, the suffocating sense of missed opportunities. The message was clear. She had been waiting for a moment that would never come. That day, as she walked to work, everything felt different. The world around her seemed louder, more vivid, as though it was urging her to do something. Do anything, but don't wait. As she passed the coffee shop, she noticed a flyer taped to the window. Now hiring, apply today. Emily hesitated for a moment, then something inside her shifted. Why not? What was she waiting for? She had been putting off taking action for years, telling herself that the time wasn't right. But what if this was the moment? What if every moment she spent waiting was a moment wasted? Without thinking, she walked inside and asked for an application. This was the first step. Part 4, the transformation. The days that followed were a whirlwind. Emily began taking small actions every day. She signed up for an online course on entrepreneurship, something she had dreamed of doing but always put off. She reached out to old friends, rekindling relationships that had been neglected. She even signed up for a solo trip to Europe, something she had always feared would never happen. At first, the changes felt small, insignificant even. But as she continued to act, to push herself past the fear of failure, something incredible started happening. She was changing. Her confidence grew, her perspective shifted, and opportunities started coming her way. People noticed the difference in her. She was no longer waiting for life to come to her. She was taking it by the reins. Slowly but surely, Emily was creating the future she had always dreamed of, not by waiting for the right moment, but by making her moments right. Part 5, the future in her hands. Months passed, and Emily stood at the crossroads of her new life. She had traveled, built a successful side business, and started living the life she had once only dreamed about. But most importantly, she had learned a crucial lesson: the future doesn't come to you, it's built, piece by piece, through the actions you take today. One evening, as she stood by the same window she had once stared out of, she realized something profound. The shadow she had once seen in the alley, it had never been a warning. It had been a reminder, a symbol of the life that waits for those who choose to take action. And now, for the first time in years, she was no longer afraid of what might happen. She had the power to shape her future, and she was doing it, one decision at a time. The future wasn't some distant place she'd have to wait for. It was now. Conclusion. Emily's story is a reminder to us all. The power to transform your future lies in the actions you take today. There is no perfect moment. There is only this moment. Don't wait for tomorrow, for next year, for the right time, because the right time is now. Are you ready to stop waiting? To take action and change the course of your life? The future is in your hands. What will you do with it? Call to action. If Emily's journey inspired you, take that first step today. Subscribe for more stories, and share this video with someone who needs a little nudge to start living fully in the present. Because the power of living now begins with you.